Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This week's video is possibly going to be the shortest video on my YouTube channel to date because the technique that I'm going to show you is really simple and really easy, and I'm going to do it on this mirror. So this mirror behind is actually going to be for my new bathroom. We've just had a little extension built and I have begged, borrowed, thrifted and bought everything pretty much kind of second hand to save money. This was in my local charity shop, this mirror behind, and I love the pattern, I love the design, but it gets a bit lost because of its dark wood, and it's actually got some really nice intricate carved detail on the front here. It's not worth any money before anybody says don't paint it. It's a reproduction piece and it was a couple of quid, and it's going to look perfect over my little sink because we've only got a very small space. But I want to make that carved detail pop, and in true Faff Design style, I'm going to add some colour to it, but it's going to be the quickest and the easiest technique you've ever seen, I reckon. Anybody could do it, even a child could do it. But it's going to make the carved detail a little bit more prominent on there. It's going to introduce a little bit of colour, and you could do this if you have a piece with detail on like this, like a carved piece. We don't have an awful lot of them in the UK, but if you have got a piece that you want to add a little bit of colour to, but you're not quite sure what to do, this is a technique that you could possibly consider. So as always, we're going to give it a clean first. I always show the prep, but let's just speed through it because it's boring. It can be boring. But this definitely had traces of polish on it. I could smell it and I could feel it on the surface. And polishes sometimes have silicones in them, which is going to stop the paint from adhering to the surface. So I'm going to give this a really good clean because I'm not going to sand it, and I'll tell you why in a second. So once I'd cleaned it, I gave it a good rinse with warm water and a clean cloth, and that just gets any of the white lightning residue off the surface. So I will list all the products that I've used below just in case you missed them in the video. I'm just going to prop it landscape because the video is a landscape, so it makes more sense. And then I'm going to use the colour Peacock from Dixie Belle's chalk mineral paint range, and this is because I do have little flashes of blue in my bathroom, and I've actually got an authentic Indian mirror that's very heavily distressed in a very similar colour. So although it's not going to be a direct match, it's going to be very similar. I'm also going to use a premium chip brush and some baby wipes, and then I'm going to do it in sections because I'm going to wipe this paint back and I don't want it to dry before I get a chance to do so. So I'm adding the Peacock all over and just working it in with my chip brush into all the kind of detail. You can see the detail now on the mirror. You couldn't see it before when it was just all the dark wood. And then before it's had chance to dry, I'm just going to wipe the excess off the top. So this is going to remove the paint off all the high areas and leave it sitting in all of the carved detail. Now you can wipe back as much paint as you want. You can see here there's quite a bit of blue still on the surface, and then the more you wipe back, the more paint you take off. I want a really subtle look with this. I don't want it too blue, so I'm just going to keep going, and then after I've taken off as much paint as I desired, I just use a dry rag to just take any moisture, any excess moisture off the surface, because baby wipes can hold quite a lot of moisture. So I just use a dry rag and take the excess off, and then I've just repeated it all the way around the mirror. Like I say, I'm just working on individual sides at a time, because if I'd have done it all in one go, the chances of it drying when I got round to the start again would have been high, and then it's harder to remove the paint once it's dry. So I'm just going to work a side at a time. This would work on anything that has got detail on. You can see here, this is it drying. I left it overnight to dry completely, and all that blue is just sitting in the detail. So this is really good if you've got a piece with detail on, you want to highlight it, you want to add a little bit of colour, but you don't want to cover the wood completely. I'm going to use wax to seal this. So this is the next day. I left it to dry overnight. Ideally you want to leave it to dry at least a couple of hours. I just did it to dry overnight to be on the safe side, and just because I'd finished in the evening. So I did this the next morning. I'm just applying Best Dang Waxing Clear all over with a brush so that I can get in all the detail, and then there's the brown wax, don't drop it. This is Best Dang Wax in brown, and this is just going to tone the blue down a little bit. Like I say, I've got some other distressed pieces in my bedroom and bathroom, so this is going to kind of fit in, and this is going to tone the blue down a little bit. Obviously this is an extra step that you could do. You don't have to antique your piece. You could just leave it quite vibrant and just seal it with either your clear coat or your wax, but I'm just going to use this extra step. I'm going to use this brown wax to kind of give it a bit more of an antique-y look. And then once the wax had sat on the surface for about 20 minutes or half an hour, just buff the excess off with a dry rag, and that's going to give you a nice sheen. And then obviously we're going to clean the glass up, and just a little tip, if you are using glass cleaner, spray it on your cloth away from the piece and then wipe the surface, because you don't want any harsh chemicals in contact with the painted piece that you've just done, because it will eat away at your finish. So here's a little close-up. I just took a video on my phone because pictures don't show it up too well. I did get a couple of close-ups here. It's super subtle. There's only a very slight hint of that blue, but that's exactly what I wanted. And this is the finished piece. So I did say at the start this was going to be a really short video, and I was right. It is a short video, but it is always helpful to see these little things. Some of these things I don't always put on video, so I hope that technique was helpful. And it just goes to show that you can just get these smaller projects. It took me, what, less than half an hour to complete that from start to finish, I reckon. And I've now got a mirror that's more in keeping with my bathroom, and it fits my decor scheme, and it was a fraction of the price of buying a new one. So as always, thank you for watching the video, or even though it was a super short one, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.